Gracias. Buenos días y bienvenido a Santiago en la República de Chile. Me llamo Rich Fuchs, soy el vicepresidente y para las últimas 10 meses el interino presidente de la Fundación Telecentres.org. Lamento que mi español es muy limitado y yo lo hablo como un estudiante en la escuela. So to the translators, I will now speak English. And my remarks will be very brief, because the previous speakers, and I know the third speaker in this session, will have covered much territory. As Shadi has indicated, this is the third global forum we have had. In Tunis in 2005, in Kuala Lumpur in 2007, and here in Santiago in 2011. In Africa, Asia, and the Americas. The Telecentres.org, and now the Telecentres.org Foundation, very much wants to help enable you at the national levels, you at the regional levels, and us at the global level to get to know one another better, to become better through interaction and discourse at what we are all doing. This is why we invest in events like this. This is why we have invested as well in events like regional networking forums in Benin, West Africa, Brasilia, Istanbul, and Colombo. I was speaking with Daniel Ben-Haran from the TechSoup group right before the session, and I looked at the room, and I said to him, what I see here is awesome heterogeneity, awesome diversity. The people in this room, in many different corners of the world, under very many different circumstances, help to bring digital tools to people to improve their livelihoods and to help deal with some of the forward issues that Shadi was talking about. It is very important that you get together. We want to be part of helping that to happen, and in this conversation over the next 3 days, for you to help us understand how we can do it better and for an even longer time. I remember when I was starting Telecentres back in the late 1980s. And I remember we would get our telecentre managers, one of whom is actually in the room, together. And they would not go by the program we had organized. They would just have this spirit of imagination, of the need and the desire to share that was extremely powerful. And that is why we do these. Because your togetherness, your desire and need to share is extremely powerful. I just want to say 3 things about the future that I think are important in terms of challenges for all of us. The first is, and many of you know this has been my hobby horse for a while, digital divergence. The trend lines of mobile telephony adoption are exponential, almost 5 billion now. The trend lines of new internet adoption are not. The trend lines of internet adoption, they're not plateaued, but they're rising at a much slower rate. So what happens in the space between those who only use mobile and no internet and those who have more value-added services using the internet? That's an important space, and that's a developing world space. So what does that mean for telecentres? The second issue that I think is going to become my new hobby horse is what I now call digital feudalism. And by digital feudalism, I think back to when we were first introducing telecentres in rural parts of Canada's poorest province, as it was at the time, Newfoundland. We only had to deal with learning one operating system. It was kludgy, it was hard to learn, it was DOS, but it worked on almost every machine. So when you taught someone how to use an operating system, they could help someone else because they'd be using the same system, and it could spread very quickly. So all the devices, and increasingly most of the software that ran on computers, came to run on that operating system. So now the situation is very different. Now with 5 billion people using mobile phones, we have what I would refer to as 5 feudal manners, or at least 5 feudal manners. And those would include Android, Apple, Palm's WebOS, Windows Mobile, and BlackBerry, and perhaps there's others that I'm not including. And what I learned how to do on those does not interoperate with the others. And so my skills of one particular device don't translate to be of use to anybody else unless I am a digital serf of that particular device's operating system. I would add to this that as increasingly the software that we use is no longer software we load on a computer, but it's called an app. The software we use is apps, and it's running on mobile phones. They don't interoperate. It used to be all the software ran on one operating system, except for the Apple. But it was principally every computer could run most of the software that was used. That's no longer the case. If I have an app in one digital space, it doesn't work in another. This is an issue for us. How do we design, or how do we redesign the technology so that it can spread more quickly and not be imprisoned by a particular digital space? And the last change I think is important for us, and I learned this, again, thanks to TechSoup and the conference they had in Santa Clara, is that the cloud is real. The cloud of software in Silicon Valley, where this conference was, is real there. It's not real in my life as it is there, and it's going to be real in all of our lives. What does that mean for me when I operate my telecenter? Just 3 thoughts. So I'd like to express, importantly, appreciation to the Foundation's principal social investors and partners in this undertaking. First, the Commission on ICTs, the Commission on Information and Communications Technologies in the Philippines, who are the host to our International Secretariat Office, and very importantly, Secretary Ivan Oy, who leads that organization. He traveled a long way to be here with us today and for the next 3 days. He's an important man in the future of the Philippines and the process of economic development, and we're very happy that he's part of this process. Secondly, to Microsoft Corporation's Community Affairs Division and its leader, Akhtar Badshah. He's been an unswerving supporter of this Telecenter.org initiative, and we would not have been able to get this far without him. And last, Canada's International Development Research Centre with Willie Race and Florencio Ceballos, who serve on our Board of Trustees. The foundation is 1 year old. The foundation was launched, it seems like a much longer time ago. The foundation was launched in the Philippines in March of 2010. So we're still a baby. We did exist inside of IDRC for 4 years, but that was in some ways easier. We didn't have to invent policies and procedures and budgetary mechanisms and start staffing ourselves all over again. So starting a new organization, as some of you will know, begins with forming, moves to storming, then gets to norming, and then becomes to perform. So we're somewhere still in the storm to norm phase, and we'll have lots more about that later. But to say we're only a baby, we're only 1 year old, and we're glad to still be in the game. Special appreciation to the event organizers, Miguel, Angelica, Shadi, and Florencio. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, we're grateful to the Chilean National Telecenter Network, attached, for their leadership, partnership, and major collaboration in bringing this event to us all. We know this will be an exciting and important milestone event in the quarter-century now history of the Telecenter movement. Vaya con Dios, have a great forum.